Hello guys, and today we are looking at a scenario where the Lime team, which is from Ada's Pros WICSO, comes into the real world in 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and let's just get into the scenario. So if you don't know what the Lime team is, it is basically a country from the fictional world of What If Civilization Started Over by Ada's Pro, and I'll link his videos or his channel. I don't know, because I'm going to edit it later and post it later. So yes, and this country, well, if you don't know, it's basically a country, as I said, from the fictional world of WICSO by Ada's Pro, and it was very strong. And I'm only going to do the continental. I know they had like this area and some of this area, and I'm only going to do the continental stuff. And also they had like Alaska, and they had some parts down here, but I'm just not going to be including that. And as I said, let's just hop into the scenario. So the Lime team, they are popping into the real world. They have all of the military. They have all the military equipment of India, Pakistan, Iran, Afghanistan, some parts of Nepal, Saudi Arabia, and like this area of the UAE. And they are very strong. They have over 1 billion population, I think. So first, we are going to be seeing the Lime team just taking over some of the countries that they've basically taken like most of the land of. And first, they declare war on the UAE. So we can see the Lime team sending their troops into the UAE, and they just take the northern parts, and soon the eastern parts of the UAE, or what is left of it, fall over to the Lime team. And we can also see them sending a little bit of troops from the other side, and they just clash down. In this peace treaty, we can see them just taking over all of the UAE, or what was left of it. And Lime team, they really don't have anywhere else to really go to, because the rest of their countries that they've taken over are either like hard for them to traverse, like Nepal, or are strong, like Iran, Pakistan. Well, I don't know how strong Pakistan would be with just this. India, and yeah, like maybe a bit. Saudi Arabia is also strong, but they see a country that they can take over at least easier than the other countries. They see Afghanistan. You might be asking, why didn't I color in Afghanistan? Well, I didn't color it in because they cannot fight them right now. They need to bump up their military and kind of just get settled into the world, because they are just a new nation that has just been plopped into existence. And so they kind of build up their military more, and they finally start to settle, and their military is now ready for a stronger opponent, and and they declare war on Afghanistan. And we can instantly see the Lime team sending their troops into Afghanistan, and they don't really send them in as fast as many people might have thought they would, because they are just trying to regroup their troops so they can make a large push and quickly take over Afghanistan, because Afghanistan can actually defend themselves. And we can see the Lime team going in and taking more of Afghanistan. And from the west, they make a large push to kind of cut off them from Iran, or the northern part that's left over of Iran. And we can see them pushing in more into Afghanistan and taking over this area and encircling it. and we can just see the Afghans or the Afghanistan military kind of making a defensive line, trying to keep the Lime team out of more of their country. And we can see the defensive line kind of working well as the Lime team troops kind of stop a little bit, but they don't fully stop because a few pushes are made. But soon we can see a large push being made by the Lime team military or the Persindian military. I forgot to say that. And Persindia is just getting absolutely destroyed, and Afghanistan is split in half, and soon the whole country surrenders. And now let's look at a peace treaty. And in this peace treaty, we can see the Persindians taking a little bit of land in the south from Afghanistan, and we can see them just making the rest into a puppet state, and the people are not too happy about this. But Persindia, as I've said, are kind of trapped because they're in a very good part of the world, or a strong part of the world, maybe, because they're kind of trapped by other powers, and we can see China kind of starting to mess around and kind of say, hey, stop expanding into our sphere of influence. Afghanistan, you shouldn't have done that. If you invade more countries around me, that'll be my final straw, and then I'll make an alliance to counteract you. And Persindia is like, who cares? I can do whatever I want. And soon we can see the Persindians trying to show off to the Chinese by invading Pakistan. Now, why do they choose Pakistan when they could have chosen a less strong country like Nepal or maybe even Sri Lanka? They just chose Pakistan because even though they got rid of a lot of their land down here, which had most of their population, Pakistan still stands a little bit of a chance. But the Persindians start to invade into Pakistan, and they start to take a lot of land in the south, and soon they make a spearhead and they cut off the two sides of Pakistan or what's left, and Pakistan fully surrenders. Now let's look at another peace treaty. And in this peace treaty, we can see Persindia taking all these southern lands and making Pakistan into a puppet state, kind of to be a buffer state between China and Persindia. And Persindia is starting to climb up the ranks in military power, even though they probably already were fourth or third. And they're starting to kind of rival Russia just a little bit, because they have all this power and they're building up their military. But now it is time for them to do something that will be the final straw for the world, because the world does not like the aggressiveness of the Lime team, and I don't think the world, especially the US, would let Persindia, or a new country that just popped into the world, do what they have already done without any consequences. But let's look at what they do. But before Persindia does anything, they want to get themselves a nice ally. And they tell other countries about their plan, or they don't tell other countries about their plan, but they kind of say that they're going to invade a country near them, and if they want some land, then they should join in and maybe become their ally. And one country that actually says okay is going to be Turkey. And now that they're their ally, they tell them about what they're going to do, and they invade Iran because they've been like one of their biggest threats ever since they came into the world, and they've wanted to get rid of this country right here for a long time now. And the Turkish and the Palestinians say, hey, if you want to join, you'll get some land. And like the Turkish are like, destroying Iran and getting land? Yeah, bud. And the Turkish, they start to mobilize their military, and they send a lot of troops into these areas, but they don't like fully go because there are mountains over here. But they still do make pretty good progress into Iran. And we can see the First Indians starting to make a large push into Iran from this area and in this area. And soon this area starts to fall because it has less people. And we can see a third party joining in this war. And that will be Turkmenistan. Now, Turkmenistan, I don't think they really have that good of a military. No offense, but yeah. And they still do some good work, but it doesn't really go that well. And soon the Persians just take it all. And the Persians also move into Iran from these areas. And I know the Persian mountains go like this. So I'm going to include, like, since the Turkish got pushed back a little bit because of the mountains, the Persians follow this coast because the mountains kind of like leave the mountains, don't go on the coast. So, because I saw that in Google Maps, they take all of the coast, and soon Iran is just kind of beaten up. They don't really have that great of military now, and they make one final blow, and they push back the Turkish a lot. They also push back the Persians a lot, and they get pushed back. But after that, the Persians and the Turkish are able to push back immensely because they wasted a bunch of their military and a bunch of their time and a bunch of their people. And we can see the two fronts meeting up, and the slow demise of Iran starts to come, and Iran soon surrenders over to the Turkish and the Persians. And now let's look at a peace treaty. And this is what the peace treaty is going to end up looking like. We can see the Persians getting lots of Iran, and we can also see the Turkish getting a little bit more of Iran too. And the Turkish are kind of disappointed because they thought they would get a lot more. They thought they would get the rest, but they're still happy that they got some land and that they got rid of Iran, because this new Iranian state is under a new government that is pro-Turkish and pro-Persian. And we can see the Persians taking the rest of the land that was owned by Iran, and we can also see Turkmenistan taking the area that they got. That is the final straw for China, and China forms a alliance that is a coalition, basically, not even an alliance, but is a coalition against Persia. And countries that we can see joining it are Saudi Arabia, Mongolia, Uzbekistan, Nepal, Tajikistan, and Kazakhstan, and Iraq, and finally Iran, and Sri Lanka. And this is a large group of countries that have just formed against you, and that is very bad for you because combined they are much stronger. But to just get more land, and they think that it is going to have no consequences. Now, India is their strongest opponent that they've ever gone up against in their whole entire existence. But India is much stronger than India. And so we can see, and it is the two Indias fighting, the fictional India versus the real India. We can see Indian troops marching into these areas near Bangladesh and starting to take all of them. We can also see India getting pushed into in the south, and they get fully taken, and India, it now has all of southern India. You can also see them taking a lot of these lands over here, and they connect up over here in this area near Bangladesh, and they cut off this area from the rest of India. And Kashmir is where the bloodiest fighting takes place. It's a lot of troops in this area, and we can see that even though China hates India and India hates China, Chinese volunteer troops are being sent in to kind of help the fighting. But even with the volunteer troops from China, and China doesn't send a lot of them because they still have a grudge against India, the Indians push into more of Kashmir and India, and it is not going good for India. And soon the Indian government sends out a cry to the Indian coalition. They need them to join the war on the side of India. They hesitate at first, but they now have joined on the side of India. Now India is very outnumbered and very overpowered, and we can instantly see a flood of Chinese troops getting sent through, and we can see the effects that they have on the front line. They instantly get pushed back, and now India is absolutely cooked. Sri Lanka even pushes them back in southern India. In this area of India, they get pushed back too. And even Bangladesh joins in on the war. And they push back the Indians in this area, and we can see pushes being made in the UAE, and they fully take the UAE and some parts of Oman back. And we can also see these Qatari areas and Saudi Arabian areas getting reclaimed, and we can see a large flood of Saudi Arabian, Omani, and Iraqi troops getting sent into India. And this is no just tiny war. This is a full-on continental war. And we can see troops being sent in from the Stand nations into Pakistan and Afghanistan. And Turkmenistan has nothing to do with this, even though they were basically on the same side as India a few years ago. They are just not doing anything. They are neutral in this war, and we can see a large amount of Chinese troops retaking land for Pakistan, and now Indian and Chinese troops are getting sent into India with little to no resistance. And we can also see all of all of what is remaining of Afghanistan getting retaken, and we can see multiple landings are being made in the Persian Sea, and India is starting to show signs of fall. And Nepal even makes a push, and they take all the land that the Persians had taken from them, and India is just falling as lots of these lands get taken, and larger pushes are being made in this area. You can see more Bangladeshi and Chinese troops being sent into India, and soon revolts from within start to rise up because they have not been treated fairly by the government, and the leader of India starts to get a weird feeling of deja vu when he sees the people of his own country of India revolting against him, and the Sri Lankans take all of this area, and this whole area of India gets taken, and the leader sends out a message to the coalition, and they say, "We surrender," and they do surrender over to the coalition. In Turkey, they just sat there and watched, and they just say, "I never did anything," and they just leave with their land. But the coalition grabs them, and they say, "You helped out the Indians, and you need to give back all the land." And let's just look at this peace treaty. And in this peace treaty, you can see everything going back to normal. And India, Nepal, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and Oman get all their land back, and the world is back to normal. Everybody was kind of weirded out by a new country from another dimension just popping up. But that is going to do it for today's episode, or today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and goodbye.